So, all right, we're live. Gentlemen, what's happening, guys?
What's
Good to see
going on?
y'all.
How are
Good to
you?
see y'all again. Been a while since we've sat down. It's been like a month. Hudson and I talked before we started. We've had like two pretty banging cards since then, but I've already talked about them in previous episodes. We got um good stuff going on right now, but one thing that I wanted to share, I guess. So, Jack, you don't know, but I was telling Hudson before we started, I said our little segment that we do, I was like, I think I'm going to come up with a name for it.
Yeah.
Um,
You got any in
since,
mind?
yeah, well, I think I'm going to call it No Fighting at the Table.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So I think this is going to be the first installment of No Fighting at the Table. Where
I like that.
I think I'm just gonna rename the sports segment to this just because pretty much whenever I'll talk a whole lot else besides football. When
Yeah.
football's not in season, so I'm not gonna talk about it really much
Right.
else. I watch other sports, but I don't really know enough about them. So this will be good. So no fighting at the table. First installment.
It's born.
Hopefully y'all be able to join me every time. I think y'all think we'll start doing this occasionally. It's like our own fight companion. You want to but yeah, so we all made picks about these future card or the card on Saturday in Miami. Monster UFC 287 main event headlining Pereira versus Izzy 2. And Jack, I don't know if you have recently, but Hudson and I watched the first fight today
Uh-huh.
with Izzy and Pereira, and so
Yeah.
we'll talk about that once we get towards that fight. But so the first card or the first fight on the card, I think every single fight in this card is just going to be an absolute banger. They're all incredible. And so it starts off with two guys who have both fought in Dana White's Contender Series. One who is making a hell of a lot of noise. There's a lot of hype behind him. I'm interested. I like him. Raul Rosas Jr. is taking on Christian Rodriguez. First fight. Hudson, I'll let you say your prediction first.
Yep. So prediction officially is going to be Raw by submission round one. He's going to come out. He's going to come out quick. He's going to look for that finish pretty quickly.
All right, Jack.
I see Raw Rosas winning via decision. I think in the first or second round. I think he wins through a rear naked choke in the late second round. That's what I think. If
He's
not
calling the
that,
exact
then
move too.
I think he'll win with a rear naked choke in the second round. If not, decision. That's what I think so far.
Yeah.
I think he'll also probably catch him with a rear naked choke if
That's
we're going to call.
that's what I think.
We're going to
I
call
think
a
it's either
choke.
going to
We're
be
gonna call exact moves.
if we're calling the shots. I think it's either going to be a rear naked choke or an anaconda choke. That's what I think. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I get that feeling, but
Vicious.
I do.
Yeah, so I also took him via submission. I might have a little fun with the exact submission move, maybe. I don't know. It's tough. Rear naked choke is obviously the most common one that you see in via submission wins, but I'm gonna go with like a north south. Go standing north south, or yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna take him by submission. I'm not an expert on moves, whatever, but he's been building a lot of hype, around him with especially his last fight, which was also I can't recall if that last fight was also on a main event or if he was like the last prelim before the card. I can't remember. I know it was on that Patty Bimlett card in London, I think. Against Jared Gordon, I want to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's he's something, man. I mean, he's 18 years old. He's super young. He's still in high school. You know, his mom drops him off in school, and he roams the halls. You know,
He was born in 2004, which is the crazy. I mean, that's just so wild to think about. That blows my mind. He's coming out of I think it's Eddie Bravo's
mhm.
jiu-jitsu gym in Las
10th Planet.
Vegas.
10th Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got some dogs in there. And I'm sure there's a lot of other kids just his age and maybe even younger that are just animals
That's
up there.
where Tony Ferguson trains at Eddie Bravo's
Right,
10th Planet in
right.
Vegas.
Yeah,
Soon.
I think they're building weapons in there.
They've got one, I'm sure.
Yeah,
We need him back, man. I do. I know you do, Hudson.
Yeah, bad.
Hope,
But he's got a pretty winnable fight scheduled if they end up getting that done, if they sign off on it.
what's
who needs a
the
win? Who needs a win real bad this weekend is
George?
Gastelum. Yeah, him and Kevin Gastelum.
Yeah.
Gastelum needs a fight. Gastelum needs to win bad.
Yeah, he needs to get back in the column bad.
Well, I mean, if George Jorge said that if he loses, I mean, he'll retire. He'll retire.
Yeah,
He's 38 years old. I mean, it only makes sense. And he's getting old. So, but second fight, one of my personal favorites, Kevin Holland versus Santiago. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, of course, I mean, I'm not gonna not take my guy Kevin Holland, so I'm gonna take him. Now, how he's gonna take it, I don't know. I want to say knockout just to be ballsy, but you know, I also think that it could be a drawn out fight, so it could be decision as well. So one of y'all want to say y'all's prediction on that
I was
fight?
gonna say, yeah, I'm rooting for Kevin Holland, but I got Santiago winning. He's just been on a tear lately. Um, I've got Santiago winning. I think by decision. I think it'll be a split decision win. That's what I think. But I don't know. I'm still rooting for Trailblazer. I want him to win real bad. But I
Yeah.
mean, if I had to pick, I'd probably go with Santiago winning by decision. That's just what I think. He's solid.
Mhm.
Yeah, he is. I think this one was interesting for me. I had to think about it a lot because, like you said, Jack, Santiago, he's been on a good run lately. His last couple fights, he's looked really, really good. So it's interesting because Kevin Holland just fought Stephen Thompson not too long ago in a UFC fight night, and it was a good fight, but he lost. And so
Right.
it's kind of a weird spot for him because if he wins this fight, he could probably still get more high profile welterweight names. Or if he loses his fight, it's probably just going to be against guys who are unranked and just have him on the main card because he's a popular guy. With all that being said, though, I'm going to go with Kevin Holland winning by KO or TKO. So round 2, I think he's gotten a lot of heat from the Wonder Boy fight because a lot of people said he needed to wrestle, and he fought incorrectly in the fight. He didn't fight to win; he fought to get people to cheer. You know,
right?
So I think it's just going to depend how he comes out, but I think he's going to come out pretty urgent. He's going to want to put the pressure on him, and he'll either find a way KO TKO, or if he doesn't get that KO TKO, he might throw in a slick Darce. He's got a nice Darce choke.
Mm-hmm.
So if they start scrambling, if things get crazy, he might find it. But I don't know. Either way, I think Kevin Holland's probably going to take it.
I think I could totally see Hudson Kevin Holland winning through KO or TKO. I think Santiago's last fight was Michael Pereira and last May.
Oh yeah,
I think he ended up losing by decision, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I might be. It's off the top of my head. That was a close fight. Michael Pereira I think he's fighting Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
At some point, I think that was announced earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could totally see Kevin Holland winning 100%.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really good fight, though. I was going through making my picks, and I just drew a little star next to all the fights that I thought had potential to be fight of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And it was every single one of them except for the Roses Junior fight, and the only reason that one's not going to get fight of the night is because I think it's going to be over so fast.
Yeah.
It should
absolutely.
be a quick one. I think so. I think it'll be quick.
But it's so stacked. I mean, all the fights, just like if they all go the right way, it's going to be good. Going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been the one that I guess I've been looking the most forward to for a pretty long time. I guess whenever they announced this card. When they announced it? I want to say because this is the same time Chandler and Connor was announced as well.
Yeah.
But I just remember I've just been anticipating it, and they were only a couple days away, so it's good. It's good that's coming. So next, one that I'm really looking forward to, Rob Font, versus Adrian. How do you say his last name?
It's Yanez.
Yanez. Yeah. Adrian Yanez.
Sorry if we butchered that, but so I'm going upset here. I'm taking Rob Font. I know he's been off for this is his first fight in like a year. But I think but the thing is, the guy he's on a warpath right now. He's been doing really.
He's got like a 9 or 10 fight win streak going, either winning by KO, TKO, or decision.
Yeah,
and he's on a tear. That dude's legit. Adrian Yanez is legit.
But Rob Font's tough as nails, and I have him. And he's underdog on the lines, so I feel like when it comes to Saturday morning when I'm making my picks, I think I'm gonna take Rob Font to win. I don't know how. I think that fight will go all the way. I don't see either of them dropping at all. I think that fight is going to be drawn out, but it's going to be good though. It's going to be violent, but it'll be fun.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I had to make a pick, I want Rob Font to win because he's a fan favorite. But the momentum that Adrian Yanez has got with I don't know if it's 9 or 10. So I'd have to check, but I think it's 9. Just the momentum he's got behind him, and he's solid. I think if I had to, I would say Adrian Yanez via TKO in the second or third round. That's what I think. But I think it's gonna be a really good fight. I think it's gonna be a really good fight.
I don't want to see a TK. I don't want to see Rob Font.
I don't either.
TKO'd.
I really don't either. I would hate to see that.
So so my view on this fight, I think this fight's going to be really, really, really good. I think Adrian Yanez, I think he's on a mean tear right now. This is it's a high profile fight because these are both guys who have fought good guys. They're fighting in the best division in the entire world. I mean, 135 is probably the most shark infested division besides 155, I'd say. With that being said, though, I think one common theme that we see with both of these guys is with Font in a lot of his fights is that he gets hit a lot. So if you've watched his fight against Jose Aldo, if you watch his fight against Chito Vera, he typically outlands his opponent, but he gets hit a lot. And when he gets hit, it does a lot of damage. And Adrian Yanez has got some really, really slick boxing. And I think he's going to come out, try and make a statement, because if he wins this fight, he probably moves into the top 7, 8 of the division. Definitely in the top 10. So I think he's going to kind of take the moment and go with it. But I think he's really, really good. When you watch him, a lot of his movements, it's like a silhouette of a young TJ Dillashaw.
Oh yeah,
with those early Renan Barão fights, and he just, I think if he puts it together and wins this fight, and then he can move in top 7, top 8, like I said, and then next guy's looking at the top, high profile guys. You got Jan, Cheeto, a lot of guys in there that you can get them in there with that are fun fights. So but either way, I mean, whoever wins gets a good fight next. Like I said, Jan and Cheeto are kind of there to have a match made. So I think whoever wins probably gets one of those two guys. But either way, like I said, better guy needs to win.
Right.
Yeah. It'll be good to see Rob possibly pulling out a win after a year of being off.
Has he been out that long?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been a while.
I watched Embedded yesterday, the first episode that came out, and he talked about how it was his first fight back in almost a year. So
I had no idea.
first fight back in a year to be in this stance for him is pretty good. You know, he's not necessarily, you know, he's still in the mix, say to say the least. So it's good to see that he's getting fights like that. So now obviously the co-main event, in my opinion, is as always and has always been recently, it's the people's main event. You know, like George Masvidal versus Gilbert Durinho Burns, and golly, I mean, can you believe that this fight is not 5 rounds?
Oh, I hate
wish it
dude.
was.
I mean,
so
can you
bad.
imagine
I hate it so much.
yeah, I cannot believe that this fight is not 5 rounds. This should be a slug fest. I mean, this is going to be a absolutely brutal fight, and it's going to be super fun. You know, I'm a big fan of Jorge Masvidal. And he's one of like those veteran guys who I feel like is not really talked about a whole lot. But I mean, he's been doing this sport, you know, for a long time. Like obviously some of the coolest stuff to watch is the backyard fights that he did.
Kimbo slices
During like the
backyard.
Kimbo Slice. Yeah, I forgot
with
about
Kimbo.
that.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
And so, and like seeing him like the BMF fight, which was so ridiculous, but I mean, it was so fun though. I mean, like we watched a little bit of that fight earlier this week. And like when Mark Goddard broke him off, I think it was Goddard. They broke him off, and you know, Jorge does his little lean against the cage like he always does. And I mean, the crowd was just going insane. So I mean,
Yeah.
to see you know, and I think it's gonna be the same way. It's gonna be even crazier because it's gonna be in Miami, where George trains and all that sorts of stuff. So
That's kind of how I knew because they announced the venue or they announced the card itself,
yeah,
and it said Miami, and that's how I knew. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
that's when they're putting Gilbert and Jorge on the card. I didn't know whether it was going to be co-main or the main event, but I knew it'd be Jorge and Burns on
Yeah.
that
I was
card
wondering
for sure.
if it was going to be Jorge or Colby. I didn't know who they were going to put in there.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but
But
it makes a lot of sense for Jorge
yeah.
though.
Mm-hmm. What was the legacy fight for Jorge? To be honest, I mean,
It's important.
I mean, he said himself, you know, if he loses, that's it. You know, it's going to be hard to kind of put him into place. You know, especially if he loses his fight. Which I hate to say it, but in my pick, I took Burns to win, just because Burns is an absolute beast, and he has done really well in almost every fight he's been in, minus Hamzat, but this is honestly one of my favorite fights that I've ever watched before between Gilbert Burns and Hamzat. And, you know, and I feel like there could be, you know, but I feel like this fight is going to also be on the feet a lot. I feel like a whole, maybe not a whole lot of takedowns, but, you know, I feel like they're just going to want to just beat the hell out of each other. So,
Yeah.
but I'm taking Burns. You know, I don't want to because, you know, George is a people's kind of guy, but you know, I'm for statistics here, I'm just gonna take Burns. I think I'm just gonna take him to win. I don't want to see George get knocked out again. Not again.
No, I think I'm taking Burns too. I don't know how. Honestly, this is gonna sound crazy. 9 out of 10 people will tell you that Burns is gonna win. Which I mean, I'm one of the 9 out of 10, but Jorge could starch him at any
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah,
And
he's got insane power.
in any UFC fight, regardless of who's fighting who, there's always that 1% out of the 99% chance that dude just lands one down the
Mhm.
pipe and
There's
it's
the
over
Leon
regardless.
Edwards.
Right, regardless of who's fighting who.
Leon Edwards.
And Leon's the perfect example.
Yep.
But if you had to ask me, I'd say I've got Gilbert Burns winning that fight 99 times out of 100. Burns is way more technical. He's way more fluid. He's got more weapons in his arsenal. I
He's so
think Gilbert Burns
fast.
gets the win, but it's hard to tell how.
Yeah.
It'd be really hard to tell how.
Well, I personally think it's going to go to decision. I just unless if like I said, if one hits one with the other and just folds, I think that could be a certain way in how that happens. But I think it's going to go all the way. George
Yeah.
is one tough son of a bitch. So I feel like that fight's going to go the distance. It's depending
Right.
on if Burns wants to use his wrestling and if George wants to use his. I feel like George needs the result of that if he wants to somewhat be in the fight.
Right.
Needs to do some wrestling. If he wants to somewhat be in it, but
Right.
but yeah, Hudson, go ahead and say yours.
Yeah, like you guys said, easily could be fight of the night. And honestly, probably will be. My official pick for the fight, I've actually got Gilbert Burns winning via submission in round 3.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna come out, and I think they're gonna slug. I think they are going to throw kitchen sinks at each other.
Yeah.
The only reason that I take Burns by submission specifically is because, for one, he's got really underrated jiu-jitsu. He tapped Neil Magny in his last fight, first round, made it look very easy. Black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so he's obviously got good skills on the ground, and like Jack said, he's a lot more technically sound. I think when things get on the ground, obviously the striking goes to Masvidal pretty much against anybody, but on the ground, Burns has a pretty big advantage, I think, technically. So yeah, I think late in round 3, I think they're gonna slug for 13, 14 minutes, and then Burns, they'll scramble, they'll do something crazy, or Burns will shoot a takedown, and I think he'll find a submission just some way, somehow, when Jorge's tired.
It'll be
I
like
can see that playing out, definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I could also see Jorge knocking him out. Like I really don't know which way to lean, because it's like he's kind of due. He's had the two fights against Usman and then Colby, and
he's lost his last 3.
He's lost his last 3, and then
he beat Nate.
He beat Nate. That was I think Till, Askren, Nate, and then he's kind of had this skid. So it's either going to be Jorge's due or Gilbert. Gilbert will just kind of outclass him technically.
Yeah, that fight is really hard to call. Especially in like giving a solid, firm prediction on it. I guess, and in terms of how we know how these two guys are, they're both complete animals, and it's gonna be fun. It's Burns is one of the most electric guys to watch. He's so fast, and he's like I said, that Hamzat fight is something that I rewatch like once a week. Like I rewatch it all the time. And we can talk about Hamzat obviously later, but it's gonna be awesome, and I'm excited because I'm glad to see Jorge go out in front of his hometown of Miami. I feel that place is going to erupt.
Oh yeah,
like they're gonna go nuts.
I'm hoping for a Cinderella story in Miami. I really am. That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Obviously, especially like a going out fight, which I think if he wins this fight, if he were to win this fight, he would call it.
He still could.
I think he could just be like, he's got his whole promotion going. And, he's making money through that. I mean, if I were him, I would fight Gilbert. If I lost to Gilbert, I would probably just plead for one more fight next year in Miami and fight just some cardboard box, win, retire from there. And if he wins this weekend against Gilbert, just be like, hey, that was probably one of the best wins of my career against Gilbert Burns, who everybody knows from the comms up fight that Gilbert Burns is solid, and just be done with that, and then go on with his boxing. I mean, that's what I would do. But I
Yeah.
mean,
But he can, and you like you said, yeah, like you said it, Jay. I mean, I think if he were to win, I
mhm.
think that this would be Jorge's most impressive win, I'd say. Obviously, the
Right,
knockout for Askren is one of the craziest things in the history of the game. I don't think that's definitely the fastest. It's the fastest knockout of the sport. It's something that lives rent free in our minds.
right,
But yeah, I definitely think that this win, if he gets a win over Burns, it'll be the biggest. It'll be the biggest one, and it could open the door for him, for future opportunities if that's what he still wants. We don't
right,
know. He could, like you said, he could win and then he could retire right after that. Or he could lose and still retire because like he's got a lot going on. But I don't know. I think that's the fight that I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, but obviously this next one is. I mean, it's probably it's good. It's grudge match fight of the year, dude. I mean, this is.
Hey, wait, one more thing though on that Jorge thing, real
Yeah,
quick though.
yeah.
If Jorge wins that fight against Gilbert Burns, he moves back into the top 5. Do you think he might hold for the winner of Leon and Colby? Because he kind of has avenues both ways with those, you know?
Oh, Jorge.
honestly, I
Yeah.
think Jorge kind of go in whatever direction he wants to if he wins.
Yeah,
Regardless, he would just have to leave it up to, Dana to
Yeah.
yeah.
But like
predict.
if hypothetically they were like, if you win this fight, we'll give you the winner of
Mhm.
Leon versus Colby. I think he'd
Yeah.
hang
Yeah,
around, fight that fight. And if he lost that, I think if he loses this fight, I think he'll retire in Miami.
Yeah.
I'm not, but he could easily just go fight somebody
Mm-hmm.
a lot worse than him, get a win, go out on a win. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see though.
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
think so
But
too.
so this main event here, guys, the fourth meeting of Pereira and Israel Adesanya. Now, for people who may not know, Izzy has lost to Pereira 3 times. And I think I might be the only one amongst my friends that I know who are into the sport, and I have gave my prediction for this fight several times. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Izzy is doomed. I mean, I think Pereira is the scariest man on planet Earth. He is freaking unreal, and I think I'm gonna take Pereira to win. I think it'll go 5 rounds. But I don't know. It's gonna be hard. Obviously, Izzy's gonna be coming for blood. Izzy's gonna be coming out hard. But I think Pereira is definitely. I think he could be more prepared for this fight than he was for the first one. But obviously, he with the sheer of luck, he finished off the end of Izzy at the end of the 5th round. But yeah, I'm taking Pereira, man. I just it's super hard for me right now to not pick him. I've been picking him since he was fighting Sean and prior to that. So I mean, it's a guy who I can't simply shy away, and so I'm gonna take Pereira again. I think I'm gonna take him by decision.
Yeah. Can y'all see with this light off? When it's on, it's like in my eyes. So
Yeah,
I can barely. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Just want
yeah,
to make sure. Dude, that thing was burning my cornea. Oh my god. No, yeah, this is definitely a fight to go down in history, I think. And the way I see it playing out, just to keep it short and simple, is I see, and Izzy's one of my all-time favorite middleweights. No disputing that, a fan favorite,
mm-hmm.
obviously. I just think Pereira is just ultimately his kryptonite, and he just has his number. And once he gets your number,
Yeah,
you're done. I think it'd be amazing if Izzy ended up winning, and then who knows, they fight one more time to just like settle the score fully if he were to win this weekend. But I just think Pereira's just got his number, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to it's just hard to beat that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely see and agree with y'all's point on that, because it's actually a pretty common theme when you think about it in MMA. Just guys that just no matter what happens, they can't seem to beat that other guy. We see
Right.
this with Volkanovski and Holloway, with Usman and Covington, with Usman and Masvidal. It doesn't matter on their
DC
best
and
day.
John.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's always going to be one of those things where even on the best day, they're just not going to beat them.
Yeah.
Right. I
With
agree
that
with
being said,
completely.
though, I think my official pick is Izzy by decision,
Mm.
and I take Izzy by decision. And I think it's going to be one of those things where he's going to be really guarded. He's going to fight very, very cautious. He's going to play to the outside. He's going to chop at his legs. He's going to check more leg kicks. His legs got torn up in the last fight. I think he's going to figure it out. I think he's going to adjust. And I think it all depends. If Pereira puts pressure on him, he's got a good chance of finishing the fight, just like the last time. But they've been showing Izzy wrestling a lot. I'm not sure if that's just something he's doing while the camera's there, so he can
show that he
kind of send out a false threat if he's not doing it at all. I'm not really sure.
Right. The weird thing to me. I'm sorry, Hudson. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say if Izzy incorporates more wrestling into the second fight, it's gonna be really, really interesting, because we've never seen anybody really shoot at Pereira's legs.
Yeah.
Right. I was going to piggyback on what Hudson was saying. I saw the embedded episode. I saw he was working on some ground game, and like Hudson said, nobody's ever really shot for. I guess somebody's had the chance to shoot for a takedown against Pereira, but if he were to, I think if Adesanya were to utilize the ground game against him, it could create trouble for Pereira. I really do. And the weird thing is, I saw on DraftKings, it says right here, Adesanya is the negative 155 betting favorite, and that Pereira is listed as the underdog at plus 135. And that's DraftKings, which is weird because you said like Pereira's won what three out of four times, whatever.
Three out of the
three.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
3 times, twice in kickboxing and once back in November.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely one of those fights that you look at and it's like Hudson said, it's like one of those guys that just simply can't not beat the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's gonna be that same circumstance, as badly as other people would want to see Izzy to win, which it would be nice to see him regain the title again, but I just think Pereira is too. It's just I think he's just you look at him and you're just like what's he made of? Like he is truly, I think, one of the most unique guys in the league and in the UFC. He's got deceptive kickboxing skills, arguably one of the best in the division, and and he was losing that fight, and somehow, some way, he came out and finished, and people were saying, well, Izzy was winning the fight, and I was like, yeah, he was. So was Kamaru Usman, but they both got the same results. They couldn't finish the fight. And now there's been some recent spectacles about about the I just lost my train of thought. About the first fight, about the thing, about the decision. All right, so we're about to run out of time, so we're gonna take a bit of a break, and then we will hop right back in, boys. All right. So we were talking. All right, we finished. We were talking about Izzy and Pereira. Okay, speaking of Pereira, have y'all heard? I made a tweet about it today. I don't know if y'all checked Twitter today, but I made a tweet about an interesting comment that Chael Sonnen said, who's my new favorite source now for everything that I receive. He said that Glover Teixeira talked about how if Pereira loses to Izzy this fight, that he could possibly move up to heavyweight. Now, that sounds crazy, but I mean, you got to be thinking about it. He's a big guy. He probably walks around at, 220, 215, 220, something like that. It can't be
He's
that hard.
bigger than that. He's closer to 230.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Walking around.
He's huge.
So yeah, he could definitely fight at heavyweight. And then they said John Jones. He fighting John Jones.
I saw a picture earlier today.
It's so ridiculous, man. I mean, can you imagine that?
He's bigger than light heavyweights.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of him and Dominic Reyes together, and he was towering over Dominic Reyes. I couldn't tell if he was wearing shoes or not in the picture. I don't know if he was because they were inside the cage, but he looks
He's
huge.
still bigger than him, though. He's thicker.
Yeah.
He's more muscular. Like, he's huge.
He's bigger than most people in the division.
That's my big theory. That's like my little underground theory for what might happen this week is I'm a little nervous about Pereira making weight.
Yeah, I heard he had a hard weight cut.
It's like if I guess my thought process on it is like if anything bad were to happen this week, more than likely it's probably that Alex Pereira misses weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a problem because I don't know. I'm sure they've got a backup. Like I really hope Robert Whitaker is a backup for this.
Yeah,
it'd be cool if Whitaker was a backup because I mean, there's no way the UFC can't be anticipating that there might be some issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's probably going to be the last one to weigh in. He usually is.
Yeah,
and he looks terrible. I mean, he looks horrible when he weighs in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know though if I think he would still have a hard time making 205, even if he wanted to just move up to light heavyweight. I think he would go straight from middleweight to heavyweight. I think he would just carry the weight with him up to heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
And heavyweight, I feel like it's just like a different realm compared to middleweight or even light heavyweight. I mean, those heavyweight is a different planet compared to those two. I mean, that'd be a huge jump. Do I think he'd do good? Yeah, I think he would do good. I think he'd do a lot better than people
absolutely
would expect.
Yeah.
But I talking about the belt, especially with Jones around, no, not a chance. I don't think. I think he'd do really good.
John would tap him really fast. Really fast. That's why I think 205 is probably his best option.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamal Hill, Yuri, Blachowicz. I mean, they've got guys who are more strikers.
Imagine him and Ankalaev.
Ankalaev would probably take him down, but I don't know. Blachowicz hurt Ankalaev a couple times in their fight.
Yeah.
Which is a weird fight, but light heavyweight's got the next fight at light heavyweight's going to be really good. That Yuri and Jamal Hill fight's going to be awesome.
When is that? Did they say anything about that?
I think it depends on Yuri's shoulder. I want to say. But I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, my hope was that International Fight Week he'd be healed.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. It's just may not be enough time.
Yeah, we can. I had that as a topic written down, but another thing is, so I'm gonna get into like future stuff now, stuff that we can kind of predict and talk about. So, obviously, with Leon, so with the welterweight division, there's been some controversy about the recent rumors of the new welterweight title fight between Colby and Leon. And there are some people who are out there saying that this is not the right fight to right now. But I say to that, I was like, well, who else? I mean,
Yeah, it's a pretty silly.
Hamzat's gone. I mean, Hamzat's up to middleweight. So, I mean, what else do you have? You can't put Usman back in there. I mean, I just don't see who else you can put in there. I mean, that fight is going to sell, and it's going to do really, really well. You know, and it's going to be, so it's targeted for July 22nd in London. So Colby's going to be back in London again, and he's going to be the most hated person in that arena, and he's going to love it, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going
That's
to
what
be.
he wants.
And
He
guess
feeds
what?
off that stuff, yeah.
And guess what? I think Colby Covington's going to be our new welterweight champion.
Yeah, I think so too.
He will be. And he would have been the whole time if Kamaru Usman wasn't a person.
Yeah. So it's, and I think, you know, with Colby is that I think a lot of people, I guess since he hasn't fought in like what, 2 years? About 2 years.
Masvidal.
Yeah.
Yeah, about
like,
2 years.
People forget how good he is. Like how much of a well-rounded fighter Colby Covington is.
Yeah.
Like he's got really great grappling and wrestling. His wrestling is really well, and he's you know, and you look at his you know, his kind of persona that he plays for the UFC, you know, with the whole bad guy act, which, you know, we were talking about this in our group chat. We were saying that, you know, I'm a big fan of the bad guys. You know, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be really fun too to see Colby's first fight back in the UFC for a title shot. And yeah, and a lot of people agree with us, so we would say that Colby Covington is going to be the new welterweight champion.
I think so too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And one thing that I was kind of disappointed about, but obviously it made sense more when we talked about it, was when they said that it was going to be for July 22nd. I thought that, well, we all thought, or were hoping that they were going to do international. They were going to do that fight for International Fight Week and have 3 title shots, which would have been, that would have been crazy. I mean, so it could have been that, probably co-main. Third fight would have been probably Yair and
Volkanovski. Yeah.
The main event would be Stipe and John Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Colby's going to be the next welterweight champion. It's going to be in, I think. So here's an alternative that I heard that I've been thinking about, and I want y'all's take. So imagine Colby beats Leon on July 22nd in London. He becomes the new welterweight champion. So what would you do with that after that? I've heard that if Conor beats Chandler, maybe you give Conor in there with Colby. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because unless you get if Dana would rather have a number 1 contender fight, you know. But I mean, it'll be interesting. I just wanted to see what y'all would do with Colby if he wins the welterweight championship.
Give him the winner of the Burns Masvidal fight.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't know. The welterweight division to me is right now like all over the place.
And
it's murky. It's murky waters.
It's one of the toughest ones right now because there's so many killers in that division.
I think in like a perfect world, Conor beats Chandler. Okay, Conor can go whatever direction he wants, and regardless if he wins or loses, right? Obviously, if Conor beats Chandler, when Conor beats Chandler, or if Chandler beats Conor, he could always come out and be like, okay, I'm gonna have a crack at welterweight. And do you think they're going to deny him the title shot at welterweight against Colby if Colby wins? No, they're going to be like, have at it.
Yeah,
that is a promoter's dream, is to have
Conor and Colby fighting each other.
Conor fight each other for the belt. I mean, that's
it's like the biggest fight ever.
Yeah,
that would sell.
I mean, that would
so much.
That could potentially be like one of the highest, and you got to build off that too. Like, right. you've got to put, you know, 2 one or two other really good fights on there that are going to really attract, the hardcore guys. But then obviously just having Connor and Colby fighting and then in the main event. I mean, it's like you say that and you're like, it's like America's version of Connor versus Conor McGregor. But I love Cole. He's one of the most intriguing guys, and it was really cool to see him in London, sitting side watching the official decision for the fight. And when he won, he was like, "I'm next. I'm doing the belt thing."
Mm-hmm.
But I think, there's a lot you could do with Colby if he wins the title in July. But I think if it were me, definitely your options could be with Burns or Jorge. Or you can just say screw it and make a huge bag and just put Connor in there.
Right.
Yeah,
I think if they were to go in the direction, if let's say Connor beats Chandler, um, and he decides, hey, I'm gonna go for the welterweight belt, and he gets the title shot, which there's going to be no argument as to whether or not he'll get it, because if
Yeah.
and Leon and Usman, or not Leon Usman, Leon and Colby will have fought by that time, and the winner will be decided. And like, let's say it's Colby. If Connor were to come up and fight Colby for the welterweight belt, that pay-per-view would easily do. I want to say 5 million pay-per-view buys.
Man, it
Like,
could
just
be
blow it
astronomical numbers.
out of the water.
yeah.
And that's just like in the build-up. I'm not even talking about prior to like the press conference
Yeah.
or any type of promo coming out. And that's before they sit him down and get him in the same room with cameras.
And that's also a Vegas fight.
Right.
There's nowhere else that fight should be besides Vegas or Dallas.
Or like
I've been hearing.
SoFi Stadium.
I've been hearing rumor. Connor even said it himself. He said, "There's his next fight is going to be at one of these three venues. It'll be in New York, in Madison Square Garden. It'll be in Vegas, or it'll be in Austin, Texas, in the Cowboy Stadium."
They should do it in the Death Star in Vegas. If they've got Colby and
that
Connor,
would be
insane.
That would be unreal.
they'd sell
That'd
that
be
out
unreal.
easily. Easily.
Oh, easy.
But like,
Those tickets would be gone in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was in Dallas, shit, I'm going to that.
Or
I'll sell my car for tickets.
Yeah, it's not far. It's only like what,
Right.
6-7 hours from here from us.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
I don't know. They got to figure out something to do with Shavkat Rakhmonov too.
Yeah. I saw that, and he and Kamzat have been going at it on social media, but
Something came out. It was either yesterday or the day before. I know y'all both are familiar with Full Violence's page on Instagram, and that guy comes out with news before it even happens. It's like, that guy, to me, honestly,
shout out Full Violence.
It's probably my number one source.
Yeah,
easily.
Them, MMA Junkie.
Yeah,
those two. Yeah, they're good. They're on top of it. But he posted something, and went to their Twitter and their Instagram page of Shavkat and Usman, and apparently somebody on Shavkat's management hit him up and was like, "Hey, this is just rumors. There's nothing solidified here."
Yeah,
and he ended up taking it down within 10 minutes. But I don't think that would be a good fight for either Usman or Shavkat. I think that's just the style matchup is just a little
weird.
I think the better route to go would be for him to fight Kamzat. And they have been going at it a little bit on Twitter, poking at one another. I think that'd be a really good fight. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I feel like also that besides like really big fans like us, not a whole lot of guys know who Shavkat Rakhmonov is.
Yeah.
And so if you put him in a main event, with Usman or with somebody like that, it would be For me, I think I'm always thinking as a business, with the UFC, because if I'm Dana White, I'm trying to make the most money at every event that I'm pumping out. So I think Shavkat is a really good co-main guy right now. I think you could definitely put him in a co-main spot with anybody. Um, I think maybe you get him. I mean, you could. I think he needs to fight at least one more time before he goes for a title, and then maybe you put him with Colby after that. If Colby's a champion, if
Yeah.
which I'm very very confident that he beats Leon, and I think a lot of people are as well. But so while on the topic of Kamzat, I wanted to, because he's been making a lot of noise on social media, but nothing has been announced or rumored or anything like that. So he obviously is moving up, which is a fantastic idea, I think. Since he could make the weight at 170 anyways, might as well just move up. So there's quite a few different things that you can do with him too. I think I read you can put him with the winner of Piera and Izzy. That's if Dana White wants to put Kamzat straight into a title shot for his first fight as a welterweight. I mean, as a middleweight, but I don't know. Or you can put him with, I heard Paulo Costa's coming back.
Costa or
So
Whitaker.
yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those two for him. And then if he beats
Definitely.
win, because he can't beat that guy, man. I seriously don't think anyone's gonna be able to beat Khamzat Chimaev. He is a absolute wrecking ball, man. And I think and I honestly would like to see him and Paulo Costa fight. I don't know if Paulo's in the pool yet, but I'm sure
Oh yeah, he's in.
he is.
He still tweets about USADA. They show up to his house.
He's a big meme guy on Twitter.
Yeah, he hates
Yeah.
USADA so much.
That guy's
He al-
nuts.
he always tweets about how USADA shows up at his house way too early in the morning, and that they want to know what's in his secret juice.
That's like
I
a
want
real
that.
thing too. Like it's not
Oh,
even a
yeah.
joke. It's like
Yeah,
I
they're
Jorge.
want
all up
some.
on him just because of that. I mean, I think he obviously does it as like a joke. It kind of rubs in their face. But at one point, I think you sort of like would see that stuff and be like, okay, what if he's just the best way to hide it is what, do it out in the open.
Yeah,
It's
hide it
like
Mm-hmm.
in plain
hide it
sight.
in plain sight. So I mean, they were testing. They were coming to his house at like 5, 6 in the morning. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
like
we're
super
testing
early.
you. And he's like,
That's so crazy,
yeah,
man.
it's nuts. It's nuts. He can't stand USADA. But yeah,
But
Kamzat's name kind of gets thrown around because he's kind of in between two
he's a big
divisions, and
draw, yeah.
he's a huge draw. And from what I hear online, I'm not sure the validity of this, but nobody wants to fight him. Apparently, he's been thrown at like 10 different names
Yeah.
between,
Colby,
yeah, welterweight and light
Leon,
heavyweight, and they're all like,
yeah.
or welterweight and um
Middleweight.
middleweight, and they're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not signing that. Which I mean,
Uh,
honestly, I don't
I
even
don't
blame him.
blame him. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either, but for those guys who were listed, like who said that they were not gonna fight Hamzat, like Colby was in there, which I feel like Colby would love to fight him. Uh I've
I feel
heard,
like he may have actually declined that though. He may have been
Mhm.
holding out for the winner of the Usman
Yeah,
Edwards.
Yeah,
yeah.
I heard that too.
But
Or well, I
so
mean, he weighed in as a backup fighter, so I don't think he could have said yes anyways.
mhm. So what would you do with Hamzat if what would he's getting into he's getting into to middleweight. So what you can think about is, do you immediately give him with the title shot, or do you give him with a little stepping stone fight like Costa or Whitaker?
I think
Uh,
the way I see it is like Kamzat is free to do in the pool whatever he wants to do. It's just a matter of who's going to accept it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think he can either. I saw something about somebody saying he needed to run that fight back with Burns, and then somebody said he needed to move up, fight Costa. Somebody said he needed to to hold off for a little while and let things, if he wanted to stay in the welterweight division and try to get the belt there first before he jumped up to middleweight.
Mm-hmm.
So I was here to let him hold off for a little while longer and then kind of let things dilute and then go from there, which I kind of agree with because, as much as I hate to say it, I really want to see him fight again. And obviously, a lot of other people do. But the welterweight division, like we said earlier, is so messy. It's so
Mm-hmm.
murky. I think it just needs time to just dilute a little bit, let some fights play out. Let's see what happens. But I also think if he were to choose to do that, I think he could just jump up to light heavyweight and just fight somebody in the top 10, maybe fight Costa, and then once he fights Costa, win or lose, he can always bump back down to welterweight. And at that point, things will have been settled
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more organized, obviously, than they are right now.
Yeah. Hudson, do you have anything you wanted to say about that?
About Hamzat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the logic. I think there's logic like this with every division where you kind of, if you've got a new contender, you want to give them right before you give them a title shot, you want to give them to the number one contender.
Yeah.
More often than not. So if I had to say, I'd say Hamzat fights Costa, and if he beats Costa,
Awesome.
if he fights Costa and beats Costa, then I say he fights Whitaker next, and whoever wins the Whitaker fight. But it all depends on who wins the Izzy Pereira fight, because if Pereira wins, Whitaker's guaranteed going to get the next shot 100%. It's going to be Whitaker 100%. But if Izzy wins, do they run Pereira Izzy 3, or do they go like Izzy Hamzat? Like I don't know.
It gets more a little confusing when you the more you explain, because there's so many different outcomes and scenarios that division could go into.
Mm-hmm.
And
Costa and Hamzat need to fight regardless, because if Costa wins, he has a case to fight Izzy again if Izzy wins on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And if Hamzat beats Costa, then obviously he's like, I just beat somebody in the top 5. I deserve a title shot. So
It's got to be such a headache for matchmakers to figure out what to do with them.
Oh
yeah, I bet
God.
negotiations are such a pain.
Yeah, but obviously he's a draw though. He's a guy that people want to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you got to put him headlining something, somebody, somewhere.
Yeah,
and so you gotta put him probably a main event if that's for a potential title fight.
Yeah,
and I think now imagine if that psychopath gets his hands on the title.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
I mean, that's a reign of terror right there.
He's 100% in the run too.
Oh,
no
yeah.
question.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's
absolutely.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of
when,
like when and who he takes it from.
Yeah,
right.
when and who.
Yeah. I agree, 100%.
But we all know what's going to happen. We're just prolonging the inevitable. We're just waiting for it.
Yep.
Hey,
Izzy and Hamzat and Whitaker, they should schedule that for International Fight Week.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one.
That'd be
a good. Yeah,
that'd be a good scrap.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one.
So another thing I had on here was, we'll make this quick. I don't know how much time we have left, but because I have 2 more things that I want to talk about. I guess I'll just talk about Asta since this one will go on for a while. So I've been reading a lot about. So I don't know how much y'all follow boxing, but
I do now.
Yeah, so it's about. I guess we can talk about the Tank fight too, but we can also talk about Ngannou making the transition into boxing. And Jose Aldo came out and said that it was a bad idea for him to do that, and that he was just shooting himself in the foot. Going over to boxing. Now I'll say I'll say my take on it because I don't know. It's interesting because so you think about Francis and you think about what he's done like in the UFC and what he's done for in the heavyweight division, like just absolute dominance. But obviously now that John Jones is back, I mean that was the fight to make, and that was supposed to be the fight that we all saw, about a month or so ago. And Francis is going around asking for a lot of money, like to other MMA leagues like PFL, like they said that he was asking for BKFC, said he was asking for a ridiculous amount of money. Like nobody can afford him but the
Yeah, David
UFC.
Feldman came out and was like,
Yeah.
I mean, the amount he's asking for is, I mean,
Yeah,
just
it's apparently it's astronomical. But so obviously the fight for boxing for Francis is the first fight that comes to mind is the one that's been talked about and apparently could be a done deal in May, and it would be Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. Now, I don't want to say this because I'm like the biggest Tyson Fury fan like ever, but I want to say that out of all the people that Tyson Fury has fought, obviously Deontay Wilder, those are probably some of the best boxing matches I've ever watched with my own eyes. Like I watched the third fight today, and like I just it was just it's a master class of boxing. It's such an impressive fight from both sides. Um, I think Ngannou probably has the highest chance against Fury out of other guys that he's fought, and that's and maybe, but that's if you want to put Ngannou with Fury first, because I've heard Anthony Joshua, and then I've also heard you can put him in with Deontay Wilder, which
That's the one that I want right
that
there.
yeah
Is
that
Wilder. That
oh
that
my
Wilder there.
god
That's the thing. So it's the two guys from both sports who have
the
dynamite in their
powerful
hands.
power.
It's crazy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. I mean, we don't
Yeah,
really have to go in
yeah,
depth.
I mean, it's almost like it almost sounds ridiculous to say that. Like for people watching who are really into the sport, like just think about the idea of Deontay Wilder and Francis Ngannou boxing. Now, Ngannou's got that insane power with those 4-ounce gloves.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine how he is with boxing gloves. I mean, it's still gonna be powerful. But I wanted to get
He's
y'all's
still
take.
Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get y'all's take on what y'all thought about Ngannou's decision on merging to boxing.
it's weird because I feel like it sounds weird for me to say this, but Ngannou, as big as a prize fighter and prize person that he is, that any promoter, whether it was BKFC, PFL, UFC, the WBA, regardless, he's such a big grab. And with that being said, he obviously he's going to ask for as much money as anybody could possibly give him, and he's got his roof raised so high. I think I honestly, and this might sound crazy, but I think leaving the UFC before having a solidified, done deal was was shooting himself in the foot. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah.
I know Dana White told him, hey, you're not doing what as long as you're on contract with us, you're not doing any outside deals, which is crummy or whatever. But I mean, I just think leaving the UFC without a solidified, not word of mouth, not rumored, but solidified deal and step
Mm-hmm.
after the UFC was a bad idea because
Yeah.
boxing in general, it's so hard. It's so hard to not promote, but it's so hard to organize,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously it's gonna be really hard to pair Ngannou up with Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, and I think Deontay Wilder said something. Um,
It just
the
makes so
night
much
of
sense, though.
the Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fight. They asked him, they're like, we don't want to get because he was doing commentary work, and they were asking him, poking his buttons about, are you going to end up fighting Ngannou, and he kind of threw the idea out there. Um, but yeah, that's just word of mouth. The whole word of mouth thing in this sport is just gone with the wind in 2 days, and then 2 days later there's another rumor of. It's just so hard to keep up with. I just think he should have had some sort of solidified next step for him after he left the UFC.
Yeah.
So then he wouldn't be kind of sitting around like
What now?
I'm actually the hardest hitter in the world. What do I do?
Could
I
do
don't think
anything. He could do anything he wants.
right, but not within the bracket of the. I don't even know what the number he's asking for is. I've just heard it's just like
It's a lot.
you
It's
hear it and you're
absurd.
like, no.
It's a lot.
Like even if it were me, I'd be like, mm.
It could be like Conor
But
and McGregor numbers.
oh yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing. That's the thing, man. Is it's like kind of two points on the Wilder Ngannou thing. One thing about Ngannou leaving the UFC is that there's a big difference. I think when you switch from 4-ounce gloves to six, do they use 12 or 16 in pro
Both.
boxing?
Both.
well,
So regardless, either way, he's now tripled his total area of impact when he punches. Because with the 4-ounce gloves, it's a short left hook, it's an uppercut, it's just it's a clean shot.
Now he can
You're
hit him from
done.
anywhere.
Yeah, and so with boxing, you're relying a little bit more on volume along with your power than just raw power on its own.
Yeah.
But with that being said, my counterpoint to that with Wilder is that out of all the heavyweight boxers right now, of the elite guys, your Furies, Alexander Usyk, Joshua, you name them.
he's
Wilder
right about that.
Wilder is probably the least technically sound boxer out of all of those guys, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have the cleanest technique. He doesn't have the sharpest.
Just raw power.
Yeah, exactly. He just has the touch of death. I mean, it's like Pereira is just lighter.
Yeah.
You can't explain it. It's just there. And
yeah, it's just
like
so
Hudson
weird.
said,
Yeah.
the switch from 4-ounce to 12-ounce is a different world.
Yeah.
And which might not, sound like much to like most people hearing that, but I mean, I can't. The idea of Francis Ngannou with 12-ounce boxing gloves
It's
is
terrifying.
quite literally horrifying.
Horrifying.
So scary.
Yeah, and any boxer in any division or whatever promotion is gonna hear that and be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I mean, if I were his opponent and like my manager came to me and said, hey, will you fight Francis Ngannou for X amount of money? If I were that guy, I would say, okay, take X amount of money and triple it or no.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I
Yeah.
would. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you're getting paid to
Die.
get beheaded, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And no wonder he can't. No wonder he can't find a fight. Everybody's like, oh, well, he doesn't have. He has no plan. Which I mean, I guess he doesn't because like, who is gonna fight him? You ain't gonna find anybody unless you
Yeah.
pay Ngannou whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
It might be just like blown out of the water, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay his opponent, who is going to the slaughterhouse, a ridiculous amount of money too. I mean, it's nuts. It's crazy. That's a weird ordeal with Ngannou and boxing. But Fredman, who's the owner of BKFC, came out this week and was like, yeah, I mean, we can't. It's not possible we can give him what he wants. So that I guess that the whole idea of the BKFC thing is just out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We got a little less than 5 minutes left, so I just wanted to say, so with Ngannou, it looks like so apparently it's going to be boxing because he seems to can't really find his footing anywhere else. So I heard that it's going to be at Wembley and it's going to be against Tyson Fury. And
that'd be good.
yeah. And what is so crazy about that fight is that those are definitely two of the hardest hitting dudes on planet Earth, and they are going to go into a boxing ring and try and kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, and what I'm thinking is that in a perfect world, Francis goes into boxing and he loses to Tyson Fury. I don't think he would continue doing boxing after that. I feel like he would definitely try and negotiate something with Dana to get back to MMA.
Right.
And then you get him the biggest UFC heavyweight fight, biggest UFC fight in the history of the company. And you get Ngannou versus Jones, something like that. And that's if But the thing is that Dana said that they offered him a contract that would have made him the highest paid fighter, in the company. And I still don't know to this day why he turned that offer down. Maybe he think it wasn't enough. I don't know, but it's gonna be interesting to see how that pans out. With the whole thing with him and
Yeah,
boxing.
the thing about Jones and Ngannou when it first made its rounds on Twitter was that the majority of people said that it was an issue with payment in the contract,
Mm-hmm.
um, mostly on Francis' side. Jones was allegedly was all for it,
Of
but I
course
mean
he was.
that's just that was just rumored, and Ngannou saw the contract and was like, "Look, I asked for more. I'm not doing it for this amount." I was like, "Look, if y'all can't give me the amount that I want, I'm gone."
Yeah,
And
Hmm.
lo and behold, he left. I
he
don't
did
know if
exactly that.
yeah, I don't know if the UFC is. I'm sure they would take him back. And they
Yeah,
claim
yeah,
they're like
total.
he's done, but I'm sure if
Yeah,
he came back and was like, okay, look, I'll fight John Jones for $5 million, whatever, then they'd be like, come on, right? You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
It's so
Well,
weird.
only
Hey,
time
one of
will.
those. Uh,
Well, no,
I
you
was
go. You,
gonna.
you go ahead, Hudson.
I was just gonna say we were talking about some of that upcoming stuff. I had something written down that Henry Cejudo card
Yeah,
in that coming up soon too.
May 6th
May
May
the
6th.
6th. Yeah. Is that 288?
or 89 or maybe 288.
It's
Yeah,
one of the two. What do y'all think is gonna happen that fight?
we might have to save that for
Uh,
next time because we're running
That's
about to run out
true.
of
Is
time.
it isn't Charles on that card
Yeah.
too?
Uh-huh.
Charles?
Co-main
Yeah,
event.
we're gonna have to save that one
Yeah,
for
we'll
sure.
save that. But um,
that'll be the next topic though. I think
yeah,
is Cejudo for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
and Caleb and um uh Hernandez. I mean, Tank and Ryan Garcia.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that'll be a
that's
big
yeah,
one.
for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, and
That'll be a big one.
WWE. We gotta
Mm-hmm.
talk about
Yeah, we'll get into
WWE.
that too.
All right.
All right, well, guys, appreciate y'all hanging out again.
Thank you for having me, man.
Pleasure.
Thanks, brother.
Thank everybody for watching. See y'all next week. Peace.